So the essay to me just came. It wanted to be said. It wanted to be spoken, and it merged all these things that I've been thinking and studying and researching. You know, when the pandemic first came to teach us of ourselves, because that's what it's done. It's come to teach us of ourselves. Uncertainty was her first lesson. Uncertainty became the familiar stranger that threatened permanence, and it terrified us.
You wrote a piece from, I think it was New York at the time, right, where you were living. And yeah. This was sort of a dispatch from the pandemic that had come upon New York in this case. I think it was in May or March, you can correct me, this piece. And it stands in your site as sort of a main piece, Sunrise over Brooklyn, from the heart of a global pandemic. And I would love to hear a little of, you know, how that, what the work you'd already been on in the conversation, or the inquiry you've been on in this dance, as you say, how that intersected with that moment, what was illuminated for you in that moment. Yeah. It's so early on in this pandemic, of course, which is still happening.
Yes, I mean, I've been an environmentalist. I've been doing this work for 20 years. And when the pandemic hit, I wasn't surprised at all, actually. Whether it's man-made or human-made, all roads lead to the same thing. And is COVID the trickster? Is COVID the messenger? Is COVID the killer? Is COVID the healer? Is COVID the carver? Is COVID the controller? Is COVID the question maker? Is COVID the question masker? Right? Like, all these things were present then, are still present now. And for me, writing that essay came very urgently. I was woken up in the middle of the night. The sun hadn't even risen. Actually, I called it over this Sunrise over Brooklyn because I was finishing as the sun was rising. But I actually started in the middle of the night. And I was woken by the spirit of those that were departing around me. I was in Flatbush at the time. It was the epicenter of COVID-19 around the world. We had more deaths there than anywhere else in the world. And I'd been in New York City for, at that time, 17, 18 years. I had never heard the city be that quiet except for ambulances. And the night before, there was an ambulance parked outside our home for a long time. And eventually they pulled out a body. They came with urgency, and then they stayed for a long time. And we were like, wow, they've passed, you know. And that happened, and it started happening, and it was happening all around us. So the essay to me just came. It wanted to be said. It wanted to be spoken, and it merged all these things that I've been thinking and studying and researching. You know, when the pandemic first came to teach us of ourselves, because that's what it's done. It's come to teach us of ourselves. Uncertainty was her first lesson. Uncertainty became the familiar stranger that threatened permanence, and it terrified us. And because we are these creatures of great intellect, but very little grace, we rushed. We rushed in order to regain control, to bring back the economy, an economy that is literally killing us, along with the 150 to 200 species that are going extinct every single day right now. COVID, I believe, in a way, came to announce that we are indeed in the heart of the sixth mass extinction, and that we are not immune to this self-generated collapse. And with that, I'm not saying that the virus was man-made or nature created. Either way, whichever way you want to slice it, it comes back to us, like I said earlier. It also asks, can we become comfortable? Which means to strengthen greatly. That's what being comfortable means, to strengthen greatly. The unfolding unknown. And so far, and for the most part, I believe the answer is no. We cannot, and we have not. So far, we have rushed through the lessons that could have guided us with grace through the wild unknown we find ourselves in. And we are most definitely in the wild unknown. The alchemists call this the underworld. The Hopi have the prophecy of the sixth fire. The Buddhists call this the age of degeneration. The Christians call it the end of times. But no matter the name, we have leaped over the edge and we are free falling. And we have been free falling for a while.